Narcissist Ensnared, Episode 14. Wynne was sat in his car, a few streets away from Eurobank. He was still shell-shocked by Ashley's revelation that she had been raped. He had stood on the threshold of the doorway at Ashley's house, contemplating going after Peter. He was angry. He wanted to protect Ashley, and he wanted to punish Peter for his behaviour. However, common sense prevailed after a moment as he felt the cold night air against his face, in effect sobering him up from his moment of madness. He realised that no matter how much he wanted to exact punishment against Peter, all that would happen is that he would be the one that would be punished and end up in prison for assaulting him. He knew that not only would that obviously be a downside for him, but it would mean that he would be taken out of the equation, and he wouldn't be able to continue to protect Ashley in the way that he would want to. Caught by indecision, he stood, the cold, frosty air whirring around him as he debated whether he should go. Several times he stepped outside and then came back in, racked by indecision. He cursed himself, wishing that he had more determination, that he was more decisive about the action that needed to be taken. But as his temper eased and common sense came to the fore, he realised that going after and stabbing or beating up Peter, whilst entirely merited, would only backfire upon him and would not be the appropriate course of action. He had returned back inside the house, closing and locking the door, and replaced the knife and returned to the sofa. It took him some time to fall asleep, his mind racing, wondering why Ashley hadn't defended herself, wondering why Peter had done what he had done. It also occurred to him that if Ashley had not told him anything, he would not have known that it had occurred. And he began to wonder why she had been felt moved to tell him that it had happened when she was not going to do anything about it. He also felt somewhat annoyed with himself because he couldn't help but feel that it was a form of infidelity on the part of Ashley. They were in a relationship together, at least some form of a relationship. And whilst he had not wanted to think about it, he had accepted whilst they were having an affair that she would of course still sleep with Peter. And he generally put that from his mind, but he accepted that this would occur. Yet now the relationship was over. There would be no need for that to happen again. And the fact that even though she had been raped, he still felt something unusual about it and couldn't put his finger upon it. He felt that Ashley should have done more to fight Peter off, and although she had explained that she had not wanted to wake Amelia, there was something not right about the way that she had just gone along with it. And although she had explained it, and although a part of his mind had suggested that maybe her reluctance and her lack of resistance was down to the fact that she had had trauma piled upon trauma, it still didn't quite stack up for him. Yet he felt bad about thinking this about her. Something wasn't making sense to him. But whenever he thought about it, he felt that he ought not to. He felt that he was being disloyal. He felt that in a way he was punishing Ashley for something that wasn't her fault. With these thoughts whirring through his mind, he eventually fell asleep. Ashley had woken him at 6:30 a.m. with a gentle hand placed on his shoulder. He had risen, still dressed in the clothes from the previous day, and groggily walked away from the house to his car and driven home. His mind reeled from what had happened, and he wanted to speak to Stephen to discuss it with him. Wynne had showered and changed, but omitted breakfast as he had no appetite. Ashley had rung him twice already this morning, but he had ignored her calls. He didn't know why, but he still felt annoyed with her. He told himself he shouldn't feel that way, but he did, and he couldn't fathom out why it was. He stared out of his car, struggling to remove the image of Peter lying on top of Ashley from his mind. His phone chimed. "Are you all right? You won't answer my calls. Kiss, kiss, kiss." "Not really." Kiss, kiss, kiss. "Why? What is wrong?" What is wrong? Thought Wynne. Had she forgotten what had just happened? "What do you think is wrong?" "Oh, last night. Don't worry about it. I'm not." There it was again, that almost flippant attitude to what had happened. He didn't understand it at all. Another message came through, again with the customary 3 kisses. "Where are you?" "On the bypass." He didn't want her knowing he was sat near work, mulling over what had happened. "Why are you there?" "Not decided what I will do yet." "Why?" "I haven't." "Well, ring me when you do." There was no further message. Wynne was perplexed. It seemed that he was more concerned by what had happened than she actually was. He could not work out what was going through her mind. He wondered whether he should drive to the police station and report what had happened. He doubted, though, that they would act on his say-so. He suspected it had to come from Ashley. He picked up his telephone and called his secretary. He could not concentrate on work today. He was going to take the day off and spend it at home. Later that day, Wynne received a message from Ashley. Unusually for her, she had not sent him any messages throughout the day. "I need to see you. Can we meet at your house?" Kiss, kiss, kiss. "Sure. When?" Kiss, kiss, kiss. 5 p.m.? "Yes, see you then." "Thank you." Wynne had spent the day doing very little. He tried to review some documents, but he couldn't concentrate. He also tried to attend to a few chores, but he found that he was restless, and he just drifted backwards and forwards. He remained unsettled by what had occurred the previous evening. Wynne felt that it was actually Ashley's reaction to it that troubled him more than the act itself. Naturally, he could not tell her that, and he wanted to go and find Peter and set about him, although he knew, again, that that would not do. 5 o'clock eventually arrived, and Ashley turned up. Afterwards, being her customary 15 minutes late. Wynne was waiting for her upstairs in his bedroom as he stood looking out of the window, watching for her driving down the road. She bounded into the bedroom as he turned, and she flung her arms around him. "I've missed you so much today," she announced. "Me too," replied Wynne. They embraced. "What have you been doing?" she asked, after she broke off from their kiss. "Not a lot. Pretty standard day," he answered. His tone was flat, and a despondent air hung around him. "I've been rather busy, actually. A new deal came in, which is my specialism. There was a bit of a hoo-ha about whether I should do it. I think they're starting to try and move work away from me, you know, with my departure approaching. Anyway, the client wanted me to do it and nobody else, so they had to give in. That's good, isn't it?" "Yes, well done," answered Wynne, without any great enthusiasm. Ashley stood and looked at him for a moment, and then he saw a flash of realization in her eyes. "Is something wrong? You seem quiet." No, I'm just tired. I didn't sleep that well last night." "Really? I find that sofa really comfortable. I'd often go downstairs and slide under a blanket and sleep there when I wanted to be away from Peter. I used to sneak down and send you some late-night text from that sofa." I remember them all," answered Wynne. "Would you feel better if I made love to you?" "You don't have to, it's all right," replied Wynne. "I want to. I really do. I always feel safe up here. Please, take me to bed." Wynne did as she asked, and soon they were enveloped in one another, her on her back, as he was inside her. All the while he did so, the image of Peter doing the same kept flashing in his mind, and at times he battled to maintain his erection. "Harder, fuck me harder," urged Ashley. Wynne dug deep and began to thrust with more power, driving himself deep into her. She responded to his more urgent movements by biting her lip and pushing against him. "I wasn't sure I would have been able to do this," she admitted, as they continued to move together. "I had to find out, though. I'm pleased we have. I don't want him to come between us." "He won't," replied Wynne. "Nobody makes love to me like you do," she continued. "You really are the best." "Thank you," said Wynne. He lowered his mouth to hers and kissed her. She slipped her tongue into his mouth, and he pushed forward and held himself inside of her. He moved his head and moved to her neck, kissing and nibbling at it. "I've never experienced anything like this, not with anyone before. You are the one," she whispered in his ear, as he started to move again. "I always thought I'd be trapped there, but you came and rescued me. I cannot thank you enough. You've given me the strength to become free of him. I want you so much." Wynne said nothing, concentrating on his movement, moving his mouth to one of her breasts. "All of my past relationships have been with people who've sought to control me. That's why I have to escape. That's why I do my acting. That is only when I can be who I really am. You let me be who I really am. You understand me. It does frighten me at times, I must admit." Wynne continued to thrust as she talked. He was trying, in a way, to ignore her. She didn't usually do this much when they made love. Perhaps then he was breaking down yet another barrier with her, that she was opening up to him. "I could not stand to lose you. You complete me. I think of you as part of me, keeping me alive with your love. I would wither and die if you ever left me. You won't leave me, Ian, will you?" No, I won't," replied Wynne, from in between her breasts, before he let his tongue trace across them. "Good. I have to keep you as mine. I'll surely crumble if you walk away from me." "That sounds like a song lyric," replied Wynne. "Shh! Not when I'm telling you these things," she scolded, and slapped him across the arm. Wynne halted his movement and raised his head, looking at her. She caught his gaze and was defiant for a moment. He held her eyes, and it was then that he saw the carousel of expressions that she was so apt at filtering through. They flickered past like destinations and times being updated on a train timetable at a major railway station. It appeared that she now decided on showing passion, and her eyes widened. What the hell was he witnessing, thought Wynne. "Oh, yes, she said. Wynne continued as she exhorted him to keep going, until she presently cried out in apparent orgasmic delight. She then pushed him off and onto his back, as she lowered her mouth to him. "That is so good," he declared, as she moved her mouth. She lifted her mouth from him and replaced it with her hand. "I know, I'm the best." "You're not wrong about that," replied Wynne. "Come for me, Ian, just for me. Come on," she urged, her hand pumping him with vigour. Wynne felt his own orgasm building, and then it exploded across him as he came. He jerked, the sensation passing through him, like a jolt of electricity. He heard Ashley gasp. She did not stop moving her hand as the delicious sensation continued to roll over him. Another wave of delight swept him, but then it evaporated in an instant as he heard Ashley remark in an off-the-cuff manner, "That's more than he managed last night." "What do you mean by that?" asked Wynne as he sat up. "Just that you've come more than he did." "How would you know?" "Duh, I saw it, didn't I?" "That's what I mean. Did he make you watch?" "Yes, why are you going on about it, Ian? You seem more bothered about it than me." I had reached the same conclusion. "What do you mean by that?" demanded Ashley. "Well, since you're asking, you seem to have dismissed what actually happened last night, whereas it keeps going through my mind." "I've told you. I'm used to it happening, so I just move on." "So you have explained to me. It's just that I honestly thought you would put up more of a fight, seeing as the fact that you're seeing me." "There was no point. He wanted his way and he got it. Just deal with it. What's the crisis for?" "Oh, just the fact that my girlfriend has been raped," said Wynne. "Is that what's really bothering you, Ian? The fact that he did something to something of yours?" No, you're making yourself sound like a toy that belongs to me. Well, that's what you mean. That's what you men think about us women, said Ashley. Bullshit. I don't think like that about you or anyone in that way. So you think about other women, do you? I didn't say that. Yes, you did. You said you don't think about anyone in that way, so you must think about women. If you listened, you'd realise that I said I don't think, so how can I think about other women when I said I don't think? Responded Wynne angrily. So I don't listen now, is that it? Jesus, Ashley, you were raped yesterday. I'm fucking worried about you, and now you seem intent on picking a fight with me when I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you blaming me, Ian? Asked Ashley. I'm not blaming you for anything. Where'd you get that from? Asked Wynne, puzzled by her comment. Yes, you are. You are trying to make out that I am causing a row, when it's you that's getting all worked up about it. Wynne gave a growl of frustration and waved his hands in the air. I'm the one who's gone through hell with him, and I don't expect you to start creating a fresh one for me, she said. As if I'd do that. You know I only want to care for you. You have a strange way of showing it. That's not fair. You know just how much I do for you. So I don't do anything for you then, she retorted. I didn't say that. Will you please stop twisting what I'm saying? I'm making the point that... Wynne tried to speak, but Ashley cut across him. Stop trying to make out that you're cleverer than me, Ian. That's exactly the type of thing that he would do. And will you stop trying to make out that I'm like that wanker? I'm not. I'm not an abusive racist. Understand? Wynne shouted back. That's right. Do what he would do and shout at me. Yes, that's sure to win the argument. It's not about winning the argument. It's just pointing out that I do everything that I can to support you and to avoid doing anything that reminds you of him. When you suggest that I'm like him, I know that to be completely and utterly wrong. And so not only is it unfair, but it's hurtful. Oh, poor you, ever the victim, scolded Ashley. What? Making out you're so hard done to. I don't believe I'm hearing this. Me, the victim. I bust a gut to look out for you. And before you say it, I do it because I love you. I love you completely and utterly because you're wonderful. I sat for 3 fucking hours yesterday, 3 fucking hours in a cold car because I was worried that that monster would do something to you. And I was right, wasn't I? You said so yourself. No, I didn't. For the love of God, Ashley, will you stop denying you have said something when I know that you have? Jesus Christ, it is like banging your head against a brick wall at times. Well, you stop putting words in my mouth, responded Ashley. I'm not. I distinctly remember that when I first came into the living area last night, you said that I was right to wait. I didn't. You did. No, I didn't. Oh, all right, if it makes you feel better, you didn't say it, although you did. Now you're being childish, said Ashley. I can't win. I really can't. This is all his fucking doing, said Wynne, in exasperation. He got off the bed and walked to his ensuite. I'm taking a shower before I say something I might regret, he called over his shoulder. He pushed the bathroom door to behind him and stepped into the shower, twisting the tap and allowing several jets of hot water to spray onto him. He was still bristling from Ashley's stubbornness. He knew he was right about what she had said the day before. Why couldn't she see this? He stepped further into the shower, the heat of the water causing his skin to tingle. It was also true that he was more bothered about what had happened the previous day than her. She had brushed it off. If that was her way of dealing with it, so be it, but it had affected him. Firstly, he hated that she had been raped by Peter. That was bad enough, but he also felt that their relationship had been violated by what he had done. It was as if he wanted to stain their relationship with infidelity, even if it was forced, in the way that Wynne had done to their marriage. Wynne grabbed some shower gel and squirted it against his body, massaging it in as the lather developed. Hopefully, him taking a time out by stepping into the shower would cause her to calm down. He would make every allowance for her behaviour because of what Peter had done to her, but he did not like the way that she suddenly turned things around, making out that he was at fault. He certainly didn't like the way she compared Wynne to Peter. How could she even think that? He did not want to have to keep reminding her of everything that he had done for her, but if she were going to make out that he was some kind of clone of Peter, he would have to. He needed to ensure she distinguished in her mind that he was utterly different. Wynne showered away the last of the foam, and then stood beneath the hot water for a minute, letting it ease away his rancour. He twisted the tap and shut the water off, stepping back into the bathroom and reaching for one of several large white bath sheets stacked to one side. He rubbed himself, and then slipped it around his waist and opened the bathroom door. "Ashley!" he called. There was no response. "Ashley!" he called again, louder this time, and down the stairs. But he was met with just silence. She had gone.